Welcome to Unleashing Happiness. I am your host, Cecilia Hendricks, and today we are going to finalize the 3 parts that I was reading from a fundamentals that Neville Goddard wrote many years ago, where he said that the 3 core areas of law of assumption, if you're looking to make any kind of changes to your life, is to have self-observation, a definition of aim, and then what we're going to talk about today is actual detachment. Now, the way I'm going to present detachment to you today may be different than how you've heard of it before, which I think is actually a good thing, right? I think a lot of times the information that is shared and what people are told they need to do in order to detach is to detach from any kind of outcome, detach from any kind of desire, detach from any kind of want. And while there may be some underlying truths in that, I think it goes a little bit deeper and can actually be made a lot more simple in the way that we're going to talk about today. So to start, we'll do a little bit of a recap of the other parts that I've talked about, which was the self-observation and then also the piece on defining your aim. So self-observation is truly your first step. You can only change something once you've become aware of it. And the way that you become aware is by starting to observe your current behaviors. Where are you dwelling? What is the way that you're talking to yourself? And what are your feelings that come up when maybe something happens in not quite the way that you want it to go, right? If there's an external circumstance, like your boss gives you a hard time about a project, or you don't get the raise that you were really hoping you were going to get, or you have a person that you're chatting with and they're not responding to you in the way that you would like them to. What are your responses? And not just the external responses, but the internal responses. How are you behaving? What are you doing? Because that's going to show you where you're currently dwelling. And then you have to decide, okay, if these are things that I don't want to continue, this isn't the way I want to live my life, this isn't the things that I want, what is that aim, right? That's the second part, defining your aim. What is it that you actually want? What would be your desired outcome? What are you seeking in life? Is it a relationship? Is it to have a certain career? Is it to really become your own boss? Is it to have more freedom? Is it to feel better in your own skin? It can be really anything, but what is it that you're seeking? What is it that you'd like? And I want to take a minute because one of the things that I've heard so much, especially recently, is more of this like conversation of shoulds, right? Like I need to kind of do XYZ because it's the right thing. It's what I should be doing. It's the way I should be behaving. It's the thing that I should want. And while I believe that yes, as humans, we do have some shoulds, right? Like we should take care of ourselves. We should show up in the ways that we say we're going to show up. We should be in alignment with our own personal values. But beyond that, we really should, of course I'm using that word, not be doing things just because others have an expectation of us. And a lot of times that's just the mirroring back what you're feeling internally, that you're feeling like you need to rise to other people's expectations. And a lot of times those expectations are not even spoken, right? They're like completely unspoken expectations, but you feel like you need to meet those. For example, let's say that your parents have kind of always hoped that you would go to doctorate school, but you're like, I don't want to be a doctor. That sounds miserable. And a lot of times folks end up going on that path instead of saying, no, I want to explore the arts, or I want to become a teacher, or whatever else it is. And it's so important to make sure that your shoulds are being placed in the right basket. I'm not even sure that makes a lot of sense, but hopefully it does. That I just want to make sure that you are defining what it is that you want. That you are knowing what is going to light you up, even within the, realm of like life stresses or having things that don't go your way, that you know what you're focused on. You know where you want to go. You know what you want to experience. You know the type of life that you would like to lead, even if it's just on the smallest scale, right? You don't have to have it all figured out yet. Part of what is fun about being human, literally, is that we get to experience all of this stuff. That we get to see the beauty and the awe in change, and that we can, have this remarkable journey, and that essentially as soon as we get somewhere, we want something else anyways, right? If you want the job, then once you get into the job, you maybe want something else in either a different area or within your career. And that's okay. You shouldn't feel weird about that. You shouldn't feel like you're doing anything wrong, but get your definition of aim. So once you see kind of what your behaviors are, understand what your definition of aim is, and then see where they don't align, right? And if you don't have that aim in your life, you're going to find many areas that they don't align, that you're acting out in complete opposition, behaving, carrying beliefs that are in complete opposition of what it is you're actually seeking and what it is you actually want. So if you've not listened to the past 2 episodes that I've had that have been on these topics, I definitely recommend that you go back and give them a listen. I think it'll kind of help give you some context up until here, even though I did kind of the background. And something else that I really wanted to take a little bit of time today just to call out is I firmly believe that when you are not in alignment with what it is that you want, right? Like kind of deep down, you know that you want something different and maybe you're ignoring it or you're still behaving in ways that are not aligned to that. I really think your awareness will continuously highlight to you your own discomfort, right? Like I believe that is your inner self, whatever higher self, God, whichever version of you want to think of. But I really think that when you are completely not where you're supposed to be and you are kind of denying that like feeling that there's something more for you, that your awareness will just keep bringing up over and over all these areas that you are uncomfortable. It's like you're going to pay attention, damn it, and you're going to do something else. And so I think it's important to start to pay attention to those areas and those times when you're doing this self-observation. What can you see in your self-observation that you're like, man, I keep having this urge to, go find a different job, but I keep ignoring it and not doing it. And things just keep getting kind of worse and worse. I'm trying to change it, but it feels very forced. It feels like I'm trying to deny what I really feel, but I feel like I should do it, right? More of these shoulds. And so your awareness will continue to bring up for you areas of discomfort. You're like, man, I kind of can't deny this anymore. It's in my face. I need to do something different. Okay, and now we're going to go ahead and read from the fundamentals lecture that Neville Goddard wrote for a bulletin. I'll leave the link down for this down below if you want to read it yourself. But he says this is where the third fundamental, detachment, enters in. So you have done your self-observation, you know your definition of aim, and now detachment comes in. Having discovered that everything is a state consciousness made visible, and having defined that particular state which we want to make visible, we now set about the task of entering such state. For we must move psychologically from where we are to where we desire to be. So let's talk about this for just a second, right? So at this point, you are watching your self-observation and realizing that what's happening internally is what's being reflected back to you externally. And if there's discomfort that you're ignoring or not really paying attention to, it's likely because you're not in alignment with the type of life that you want to lead. It's kind of like this internal compass inside you is saying like, hey, pay attention. You deserve more than what you're giving yourself right now. You are able to experience something that is better than what you're experiencing right now, or you're at least not quite in alignment with it, right? Something is off here. And so he says, once you realize that and you have these states of consciousness that are made visible, and then you say, wait a minute, well, this is the one that's visible now, but I actually want to pick something else. I've defined my aim and I want to make another state visible. It's essentially like you're walking down a hallway and there's a ton of doors, and each one of the doors has like something on it that's a kind of life that you could be leading. And you get to pick the door that you go in. But once you open it, it triggers something on the floor that like animates that door, right? That room. And once you close the door, you hit that switch again and it unanimates. Is that even a word? It stops animating it so that now no longer, it's kind of frozen. It's just sitting there. It's not your timeline. So then you go to the other door and you open it. And as soon as it goes over that trigger, that switch, you turn on that awareness. You animate that state of being. And so once you say like, oh, wait a minute, this is one that's not in alignment with what I want to be. I actually want to go over here. I want to go to the door 3 doors down to the left, the lime green funky door that just looks fun and happy. And I know that as soon as I open it, fun music's going to be coming out. I'm going to have the love of my life. I'm going to be living a life that I love, toes in the sand, freaking sun on my face. I can't wait. That's the door I'm going to, not this one that I'm standing in front of. So as soon as you close that door and you decide to go somewhere else, you're making a different state visible. And the only way that you can do that is with your attention by closing the one door. I'm not going to pay attention to you anymore, right? So we're going to call it a dull gray door, and then we'll have lime green door. So once you say, hey, I'm not going to pay attention to dull gray door anymore. I'm closing that. It's not animated anymore. I don't even have to pay attention to it. It's all just sitting there. It doesn't even matter right now. There's no reason to be concerned about it because nothing is living in there because I closed the door and it flipped the switch. And now I'm going to go down to lime green door. And as soon as I open it, that's the only place I can place my attention. That's the only door I can focus on because it is the only one that's lit up. It's the only thing that matters because that is my aim and that is what I have animated. And that's where I'm going to pay attention. And that's what detachment means. Detachment does not mean that you have to give up your love of lime green door. All that it means is that you are now taking your attention away from dull gray door and giving it to lime green door. You're making it alive with your attention. And once you do that, you are detaching from that old state of being. Once you close that door, you're detached. There's nothing to worry about now. That door is closed. Move on. And how Neville says it is the purpose of practicing detachment is to separate us from our present reactions to life and attach us to our aim in life. This inner separation must be developed by practice. At first, we seem to have no power to separate ourselves from undesirable inner states, simply because we have always taken every mood, every reaction as natural and have become identified with them. Oh, so what he's saying is that you take every mood, every reaction that you have, and you decide that's your state. So it would be like if maybe you're in lime green door and you see like a message that doesn't get responded to, and that reminds you of dull gray door. So suddenly, before you can even stop yourself, you have rushed out of lime green door and ran down to dull gray door so that you could open that door again and give them a piece of your mind. And you're reacting, and that now is your identity, and it's where you've chosen to dwell. You have reanimated that with your attention because you've decided that reaction is what is truth. This is why it's so important to learn emotional regulation. It's not about denying what's happening to you. It's about being able to manage it and remain in lime green door, right? And I know that that is putting it on a really simplistic term, but I hope that it makes sense. If you're like, what are you talking about with these doors? I'm totally open to you sharing that with me, that you're like, what the heck are you talking about? But I think it makes sense this way. So when you look at your reactions, do you have control over them? And not control is in a denial, right? I see so many people do this where they're like, no, it's not happening. It's not happening. But truly, they're already in dull gray door, right? They know that they're dwelling over in dull gray door. They're not in lime green door anymore. That door is gone and shut to them, but they want to deny it. They want to act like they're in lime green door so hard, but they're not. And remember, you're going to know this because you're starting to do your self-observation. Where are you dwelling? What are your behaviors? Can you control your own moods? It's actually the whole reason why I created a literal course about it called Manage Your Moods, because I wanted people to understand the importance of being able to choose what door you stay in, where you dwell, what you place your attention in, and learning to detach from the things that you do not want. When I talk to people, this is 100% of the time their issue that they're having. They are not able to stay focused on their end goal. They have one, they may know what they want, but they're not doing the self-observation and they're definitely not detaching. They're holding on so tightly to the past and the reactions that they're having and the moods that they're having. They're getting swayed all around by external circumstances. And there is a better way. You can learn how to manage this. You can learn how to detach from the things that you do not want. And it does come with practice. And I promise you that it does come with practice. I know because I've done it for myself. I used to be washed around by whatever was happening, right? And just continue to react, get really stuck in my own head and start to spiral and be upset and react in ways that really did not want to react in, but I would do it anyways and I would justify it, right? Well, I'm mad, I'm upset, I can do this. And it was keeping me stuck. And I really needed to learn how to expand beyond this. And I've helped numerous other clients learn this as well. There is a process to learn how to manage your moods, how to actually detach from these things that you don't want and step into the things that you do want. If you are interested in that course, I'll leave a link down below. And if you have any questions about like coaching or working with me, you can always email me. It's unleashinghappiness@ceciliahendricks.com. I only take on 4 clients at a time, one-on-one clients. So I'm pretty limited on space just because I want to make sure I'm giving you the attention that you deserve. So one-on-one clients is very limited, but the course is open to anyone. So this is truly what detachment is. It has nothing to do with letting go of what you want. It has nothing to do with you not being in love with lime green door. It has everything to do with closing dull gray door and moving on. So I hope that you found this helpful. Again, the link for Neville's lecture, bulletin writing, I think it was actually written, not a lecture, will be down below. You can definitely read it. If you have questions about it, I would love to talk about it. So if you just have any questions and you would like to reach out, again, you can email me, unleashinghappiness@ceciliahendricks.com. Or if you're listening on YouTube, you can just pop them down in the comments below. I wish you nothing but the very best, and I hope that you found this helpful. I know I got maybe a little overly animated. I was super excited about this topic, and I hope the doors help make sense, right? For me, this was something that really clicked for me in my understanding is like, oh, wait a minute. Once I close that door, it's done. That's done. That door is closed. I can move on. I don't have to worry about that one anymore. There's so many others that are closed and they don't bother me, so who cares? But I wish you nothing but the best, and I hope that you have a beautiful, beautiful rest of your week.